season 2 is going. We're going to start the season where we left off, and the idea is we're going to answer a lot of questions right off the bat, and then flash forward a year, and then our show will sort of use flashbacks to fill in the blanks and tell the audience what happened in that year from where we left off last year to where we are now. Premiere episode will, everything I just said will pretty much be in the premiere episode, and then it'll launch what our big season arc is. So I think it's, answer some questions, set everything up, and then kind of launch you into that story. There's a lot of questions.
My favorite aspect of the show is always surprise. You think you figure it out, you've not figured it out. So how important is that to going forward? That element of surprise.
It's really important, and that's what makes this hard, because we don't like to be cagey. We don't like to sit here and say, well, we can't tell you, but it's part of the fun of our show is going along for that ride. And it's not easy to do, because we read what people write online, and people are smart. They can see things coming, so it's hard to kind of keep everyone on their toes. Well, I think, we set a precedent pretty early on where you kill an integral part of the cast and people are like, okay, if anything goes. And I really enjoyed Mike Weston and Annie Paris, Agent Parker, the fact that I would read online, they're in on it, they're in on it, they're in on it, and I knew they were never in on it, so I really enjoyed the audience thinking that, and it gave us some liberties to play with, because like people are like, well, why did she give him the book in the beginning if she wasn't in on it? And I was like, well, if you look at the episode, because he sits there and he says, I would like something to read. So she was the only one who listened, it was for no reason other than that. Say that again? Oh yeah, the first episode, I've read it. It answered. Well, I've always known, but now I've seen it, and it answers a lot of questions. It answers the big questions, and it keeps you guessing on questions that are important for our story to move on. Yeah, definitely 3. And I think in these interviews last year I said we knew at least where 3 were going. But it's interesting when you sit down and start thinking about what can happen, and then when you introduce characters that people start to love, it opens doors to other possibilities. So I could easily see it going on and on, especially if you use the device that we're using. Once everyone has seen season 2, they'll go, oh, I get it. I can see how it can go on. I don't know that it's important, but it's a nice sort of misdirect. It's a nice device to use to get the audience to go, what's going to happen? How are they going to do that? My favorite scene was killing Agent Parker, and I didn't want her to die. But I think everyone will see when you watch season 2, her death is the central theme of how it's changed Mike Weston for season 2. So you kind of needed it to happen in order for that character to have a complete arc in the next season.
I was going to say, with the cult members in particular, do you have a solid idea with your existing cast of who is a cult member and who's not, and would you flip that behind the scenes?
We never changed it last year. We went in with a plan, and the plan never flip-flopped. This year, the cult is constructed differently. It's not the same, because it's not the same story. We're not talking about Joe going to his acolytes and getting them together. There's it's all about new beginnings, and we have characters now that the audience really wants to see more about, so we can build story on that. But we know who's bad and who's good.
She seems out of all the promotions involved, has potential maybe just as big as he is, which say kind of evolve big bad, so to speak, that wants to hear what's wrong with someone else. It's like this is one that takes over, or you just bring somebody in something else.
I think I personally think it's always better to build those characters, but so yeah, Emma I think on the surface is a amazing candidate for that. But what I will say about season 2 is the new cast members and the heavies that we'll be bringing in are really great, like in a really fun, really interesting, and not always what you'd sort of expect them to be. We were in the panel. Kevin was. We talk about it all the time. We think season 2 are easier than season 1. Season 1 is so hard. We learned a lot of things about our show that we want to change by watching season 1. We don't want the FBI to be dumb, so they're not going to be a big part of the show in season 2. The show's evolving from that. I think season 2 is going to be better than season 1 because we have season 1 to look at as